Hello everyone. Welcome to the IPL special of King Pair podcast. My name is LBK and I am joined by Canada's own Stuff. How are you, Stuff?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good too. Let's begin. On today's show, we'll be talking about IPL 2022. There's weird jerseys, there's casual catchphrases, not so energetic theme songs, exiting captains, some new jerseys, and some new players. So let's begin. Now, Stuff. Uh, that's IPL 2022. And we have five new captains. We have got two new teams in Gujarat Titans and Lucknow Super Giants. So, which team are you looking forward to?
Uh, yeah, that's a tough one because I'm not really the biggest T20 league watcher. So, yeah, I guess I'd probably say Gujarat Titans because I just really enjoy Rashid Khan, and I just want to see him do well again. So, pretty much just because of him, I'll probably say Gujarat Titans. Although I haven't heard too much good about the team right now.
So, as you said, you're not much of a T20 league watcher. So, if you, let's say, tune into a tournament like IPL and you see a new side like Gujarat or let's say LSG, so what hope do you put into teams like this? I mean, there's decent players in both of the teams. LSG has got Rahul, they've got Bishnoi and many others. On the other side, Gujarat Titans has Hardik Pandya, there's Rashid Khan, there's Matthew Wade, if you want to call him the player. That's your choice. So, what hopes do you put into these guys?
I think they could probably hope to finish in the playoff spots. I don't think any of them would be really thinking about winning so far because they are the new team, so they didn't have the same opportunities to retain their best players. They just got the best of what was left. Isn't that how it went with the first draft? But if they can put on a decent showing this time around, then that sets them up well to maybe push for higher honors in future seasons. If I remember correctly, I think it only took SRH like 4 seasons, 3 or 4 seasons to win their first title, didn't it? So that's probably
Yes,
about as good as you can hope for.
yeah, because it seems like for a new team starting off in any T20 league or anywhere, first season seems like a trial run of sorts. I mean, you don't exactly hope the players to be at their best, probably take a bit of time to gel in, and probably hope that they put in at least a decent performance so that you can look forward to the future.
Yeah.
Moving on, and as we have seen in last 10 or 20 days, there's been a lot of jersey chat, especially with the kids reveal and all. So how do you see, you know, something like in T20 leagues, everything is pretty much a show. The players, the jerseys, the teams, their social media, everything has a bit of a showmanship to it. So how do you see the the appearance part of the game, especially as we have seen in the 100 or WBBL, even Big Bash, that jerseys do add a little bit of what you can say. They are a bit of a part of the whole brand, to say the least. So, what do you think the jerseys add to something like an IPL tournament?
This is gonna sound very old man yells at cloud of me, but I'm not the biggest, fan of all the showmanship on display. Making such a big deal out of jerseys, out of theme songs, out of every tiny every tiny little thing to commercialize more. All making a big deal out of every new sponsor that comes along and all that. It's just not really for me, but I do understand that I'm in the minority here. Like, I feel like most people that would probably listen to this podcast would feel the same way as me, but we're not the majority of cricket fans. Most people who watch the IPL are the casuals that get sucked in by this stuff. So it doesn't really matter what I think, because
Oh, yeah.
they're gonna keep doing it. But yeah, I do get the appeal to some people. It's very flashy, it's eye catching, it's something you could put in ads, something you can build hype around. I don't see the hype myself. There are a lot of people that do enjoy it, so good for them, and they're gonna keep getting all of this. That said, looking at the kits right now, I do quite like. I think that's Delhi's kit because it does have some nice color contrast. It does
Yeah,
fade away a bit. Most of the kits are very, it's with all cricket. Most of the kits are black, red, or green, and because India's eliminated themselves from ever having green kits for their local stuff, it leaves most of the kits being blue, not black, blue and red, and you
yeah,
can see that with the kits here. I think four of them are
yeah.
blue, one's purple, which is pretty close, and then two are red, and one's orange, which is pretty close to that.
Yeah, it looks like people did not like Lucknow Super Giants having an experiment with their kids' colors, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They probably
Moving
they, they,
on.
they have they have the most boring one. Lucknow. It's very dull.
Yeah, it is. It could. I mean, the color could work on some level if maybe they'd be a little more, let's say, brave with it and try a bit of different things. But I think they chose probably two of the most dullest colors,
Yeah.
and I guess they did not go well. Mm, moving on. Uh, you know, Probably this is the first time we have seen so many players going for 10 plus crore amount in IPL, and there's some big ones like Ishan Kishan who went for 15.25 crores. There's Deepak Chahar who went for 14 crores. There's Shreyas Iyer who went for 12.25 crores, and then there's Harshal Patel, Shardul Thakur, Vanindu Hasranga, and Nicholas Pooran who went for 10.75 crores. So, there's, I mean, from what I see, this is the first time that there has been a lot of players that have not necessarily have a hype, but still have gotten a big amount. I mean, Deepak Chahar, as you see, his performance in last IPLs has been decent. His exploits at the international level has been decent, but there's nothing groundbreaking from his part. Or even if you see someone like Shreyas Iyer or Harshal Patel, they've all have pretty good performances, but nothing great to say the least. So do you think they'll be feeling the pressure to justify that price tag that they have been put on?
Yeah, I definitely think it. The pressure definitely plays a role in it. But I feel like if they're able to be isolated enough from a lot of the media circus that comes from their big price tags, that they should be okay. And that'll probably be a little bit easier in a season like this, where I've heard they are going pretty heavy with bubbles, so there will be a level of separation between them and the outside world. But yeah,
Uh,
if they're able to stay off social media, if they're able to stay away from the press, then that shouldn't be too decisive. But if they do start slowly, and it does get in their head, then it's going to be hard to get back.
as you bring up the point about the press, I think one thing that comes to my mind is, I've talked about Liam Livingston going for 11.5 crores or Nicholas Pooran going for 10.75. So, I mean, there's Indian guys who've gone for big amounts, and there's, overseas guys like Livingston, Pooran, or Asranga gone for these pretty big amounts. So, I think there's a kind of a bias, against, or I can say against or for the Indian players. I mean, Indian players might feel the bigger, you know, they would be much in higher pressure than, let's say, someone like Nicholas Pooran, because as we talked, the press is onto them. There's talk in the media's, and there's big expectations from the fans. I mean, I don't see anyone from SRH hoping so much from Pooran as much as CSK fans would be hoping from Deepak Chahar, especially once he returns from the injury, or someone like Ishan Kishan. So, do you think that works in some Livingston or Pooran's favor, that they do not have as big as a hype as the Indian guys have?
Yeah, that does help a lot. It probably helps that because they are part of a more, a less exclusive bracket. right? Because they're overseas players. It's easier to drop them in case things start to go wrong, give them some time to regroup away from the spotlight. And then also, once the tournament's done, it's over for them. They can go home, they can get away from it all. But that's a lot harder for the Indian players because, Chahar was picked so expensive because he is a very rare domestic pacer. So he's pretty crucial to his team strategies, and if things go wrong for him, it's a lot harder to drop him. And then again, after the tournament, that's going to stick with him that he was this 14 crore flop if things go badly, and he can't really get away from it because he's still going to be in India, or he's still going to be traveling with India. And when the next IPL comes around, the people are still going to be on his back for it because the conversation never really would have gone away in the same way it would have for an overseas player. So yeah, that pressure is going to be a lot higher on the Indian players if they don't live up to that price tag.
Talking about the Indian players or even the overseas guys, uh, if we talk about the biggest sales of, this auction, there's some guys, especially the all-rounders. If you see, Deepak Chahar is kind of an all-rounder. Shreyas Iyer has started bowling a bit. Liam Livingston can bowl a bit. He's obviously a great batter. Similarly, Harshal Shardul and Hasranga all can bat, and mainly they are bowlers. So, do you think someone like Ishan Kishan or Nicholas Pooran, who are more of a one-dimensional or two-dimensional, if you add the fielding, have a bit more on their plate to do because as an all-rounder, you always find yourself part of the game. Either with the bat or with the ball or even in the field. But someone like Kishan or Pooran has that limited time to influence the game. So, do you think that would affect the game and the mindset coming into the tournament?
I don't think it'll really affect them coming into the tournament, but after a few games, it might start to weigh on them, especially if they start poorly. I don't. Are Kishan and Pura not the keepers for their teams? I'll have to check
Yeah,
that.
Ishan Kishan is the keeper, but Nicholas Pooran was not the regular keeper for Punjab. It was KL Rahul.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Like they won't be involved in the game as much, so they will be expected to make bigger impacts with just their batting. But I don't think that'll affect them that much coming in. But it might start to weigh on them if they start poorly.
Okay. And the two new teams coming into the tournament, that is LSG and Gujarat Titans. So as we saw in the auction, LSG had a pretty good auction as they pretty much covered all their bases, and they seem to have a pretty strong unit, with the reserves and all the big names. But seems like thing went pretty much south for Gujarat Titans because their auction was probably one of the worst we have seen in recent while. They did get a few good players like Shubman Gill, there's Shami, there's Lockie Ferguson. They had Hardik and Rashid in the draft. But from an overall perspective, looks like the team is still lacking a bit in almost every department, especially the batting.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't really looked at the squad, so I don't know much about Gujarat's total. The full makeup of their squad. I've just heard it's not great. Yeah, they do have some. Like just looking at the players that I see here, they do have some promising talent, but it is it's a 14 game league, so you can't really depend on them every game. And if someone goes down injured, that is going to leave them very short-handed. So yeah, like on paper they probably are quite understaffed, but they at the same time they do have several match winners in that team, so they could be very interesting to follow. That said, you wouldn't really bank on them to go all the way this year. They have
Yeah,
they have too many gaps to fill right now.
talking of match winners, then they have guys like say David Miller or Rashid Khan or Hardik Pandya. Even Matthew Wade has done well recently in the T20s.
Yeah,
So
I'm very glad that we managed to give Matthew Wade a big IPL contract.
that's true. So I mean, even still, I'd say probably Matthew Wade does not have that weight of expectations on him. But seems like Rashid Hardik and David Miller are probably the guys who have been laden with the most weight of expectations from performance point of view, because as we have seen, their squad seems a pretty depleted one with a lack of players. So it looks like these three are your go-to guys in, especially in the batting and leadership department.
Yeah, as with any team, you're going to be depending on your senior players. But with Gujarat, if this is all they have, 'cause then then yeah, they are going to be more dependent than most.
One question that probably I don't know if you had been thinking about or not, but do you rate Hardik Pandya as a captain or a leader, or should it have been someone else in your point of view?
I'm not really sure how much captaincy experience he has. Does he captain Baroda much? I think that's his domestic team,
No,
right?
I think it is Krunal Pandya is the one who captains for India.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like with his, man, like most of the stuff I've heard about Hardik in the last couple of years has been his off-field stuff, which it's probably overblown a little, and you can't really read that much into it because you know the great Shane Warne, R.I.P., was a very energetic player off the field, but he was a brilliant cricket mind, but you wouldn't really get that from what he got up to off the field. So I can't really speak much about Hardik. We'll just have to see. That said, if I was picking a captain based on the players I'm seeing right now, I would have probably picked Wade or Rashid Khan because they're the ones with more formal captaincy experience.
Yeah, we see someone like Matthew Wade who has captained, I think, Hobart
He's,
Hurricanes and
he's Captain
has some.
Hobart, he's Captain Tasmania as well.
Yeah, and probably he is the most capped T20 guy in this team. So he brings the most experience plus the highest leadership experience as well. So he he is justified from a leadership point of view, probably
Yeah,
even more than David Miller or say Rashid Khan.
yeah. Rashid Khan's the Afghanistan captain, so that might have. Yeah, I thought that might have given him some credence to being the captain when word was first going around that he would be Gujarat's first pick. But I think Pandya himself is Hardik himself is Gujarati, isn't he? So it's probably
Yeah,
a little bit of it as well. They want a Gujarati Indian captain just to fly the flag for them.
yeah, seems like a brand thing as well, kind of, to make it relatable for the fans as well.
Yeah,
Uh, Moving on, as you know, there's a lot of new players, from the under 19 and even uh, other parts, a lot of overseas guys coming up. Who do you think, from your point of view, is the most exciting prospect that you've been looking forward to see? There's guys like Yash Dhul, there's Hangar Gekar, there's Devon Davis, there's even Rodman Powell. He was pretty good in the recent Indian series. There's Alzari Joseph, who did pretty well. So, who is the one that excites you?
yeah. I'm gonna have to back my boy Tim David. He's the plays for Singapore right now. He's also Australia eligible, and it wouldn't surprise me if he turns out for Australia by the end of the year. Yeah, he's had a real great post pandemic career. Uh, he hasn't played for Singapore since the pandemic began, but he has started playing in a bunch of T20 leagues. He had a really good PSL 2020 and a really good PSL 2021. I think he's actually been underwhelming, a little underwhelming in the Big Bash, but his performances in all the other leagues have been really good. He had a really good 100 as well, didn't he? So yeah,
Yeah,
I
looks
am.
like he did
I'm.
well.
Yeah, I am quite excited to see how he goes here. I do hope. I do hope that Australia don't pick him right away, right after this, because I would like to see him turn out for Singapore in the Asia Cup qualifier in August, and possibly the Asia Cup itself if Singapore get out of that. But yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, I am very excited by Tim David. He is a very exciting batter, and yeah, I just hope he does really well here because I like seeing players with his sort of background do well.
Yeah, he's probably the most exciting guy coming off, someone who has, shown his skill already. If you see the guys from under 19, they are probably a little more unexposed for now. Devolves Bravis and the other guys. But Tim Davids is someone who has already shown a lot of skill in PSL, in the 100, even in Big Bash. So seems like he's the most exciting guy right now. Moving on, tomorrow CSK faces KKR in the first game of IPL, and we'll be back on Sunday with the cover up of Women's Cricket World Cup and few IPL games.
Yep. Looking forward to it. See you on Sunday.
See
Take
you.
care.
Thanks. Take care.